Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Football Palestine Extra, where we're going to cover a lot that happened not in the last week, but in the last 2 weeks of Palestinian football. Sorry that I missed last week. I know we have a lot of dedicated followers, readers of Football Palestine that were probably waiting on last week's episode, and I wasn't able to get it out. My apologies. Bit of a personal note. I have moved cities, countries, house, everything. So it was a little bit difficult for me to get an episode in last week. We will make it up, though. We'll make it up probably with an expert on Libyan football coming on the podcast and talking a little bit about the Libyan national team ahead of our Arab Cup play-in with them. That said, we've got a lot to get to before we even look at Libya, both from the news that's happening in all the leagues around the world where Palestinians are playing and with the national team itself. And we're going to start with the big story, which is we're already into November. I believe this weekend is the last weekend before the international break. And that means we get to start thinking about these real marquee friendlies against Euskadi, that's Basque Country, and Catalonia. And both of them are going to be played in La Liga stadiums. The first one in San Mamés. I looked at the ticketing portal yesterday. I think there might be something like 5,000 tickets, maybe even fewer, and those tickets are not in the good seats. So it's close to a sellout. On TV, it's going to look like a sellout. And then the game in Barcelona will be played at the Olympic Stadium in Montjuic, which is Barcelona's stand-in home until they finish renovations on the Camp Nou. There was a bit of controversy. We'll kind of get into that as well, but that's what we're going to focus on for the first part here. And then I'll just run through the order. We also want to speak a little bit about this incredible story from Mohammed Balah. We're going to go through all the news of Palestinians abroad and then ask who is the best Palestinian player at the moment, because I think some of the names that are making a case wouldn't have been names you would have thought of even a year ago. And with that, we'll kind of look to the match against Libya, because all the preparations we do now are leading to that Libya game. So the matches here in Spain, particularly the one in Barcelona, were kind of touch and go. The one that was going to happen in Bilbao and San Mamés, there was a lot communicated about it. The moment it was announced, you knew that it was going to be in San Mamés. A couple of weeks later, they said, hey, on this date, we're going to start ticketing sales, and you can get your ticket from the following selling points online. They sold over 30,000 tickets in the first 24 hours. And you've been kind of been kept abreast of what's going to happen on that day. The game over here in Barcelona, however, there wasn't any of that. You didn't know how to buy tickets. They said, yeah, it's going to happen, but you couldn't find anything. And, I did some digging, and a lot of the heavy lifting has been done by the advocacy groups. So an advocacy group called Act for Palestine is the one that really pushed to have this. And, they have, I think, friendly and helpful allies in the Barcelona municipality that also pushed for this, but they needed buy-in from the Catalan government, and they also needed buy-in from FC Barcelona. So I wrote a little bit about this on the website yesterday, that it looked like there wouldn't be a way to kind of financially justify hosting Palestine, Catalonia, or Catalonia, Palestine, I should say, in the Montjuic Stadium, because it costs something like 500,000 to 600,000 euros to put a match on there. And if you weren't going to come with sponsors in hand, then the operator of the stadium, not the owner, because the owner is the municipality, the operator, which is FC Barcelona, will have some pushback and say, hey, you need to kick in, I believe the figure was something between 150,000 and 200,000 euros to make it worth our while. The ticket sales, even if you sell five figures as a number worth of tickets, not going to really cut it. So a lot of respect to Act for Palestine, for the advocacy groups that went out there, that pushed it in the media, because there was a media blitz this week in Spanish and in the Catalan language around, hey, they don't want us to play in Montjuic, and we want to make sure that we get to play in Montjuic, and we don't want to be one-upped almost by Basque Country here. And they pushed it. And the way they did it is they got basically people to come out and say, yeah, I'm ready to pre-reserve. I'm ready to commit. I myself went out there and pre-reserved 4 tickets. They got up to something like 18K within 24 hours. There was a meeting held on Tuesday between all the parties, and they sort of sat down and said, okay, we can make this work. I guess they found a way to bring those costs down. And it's going to happen. It will happen in Montjuic on Tuesday, November 18th, 3 days after the game in San Mamés in Bilbao. And early kickoff, 6:30 p.m. kickoff. Maybe not the most ideal for a midweek game, but I think it also sort of ensures that you can bring the kids, you can bring families to the stadium. Yeah, it might be a little bit difficult. You'd have to work a little bit early, but it's something that can be done. So great to kind of see that happening, because I think it would have been a shame had they had to move that match, because what they were anticipating was not kind of moving the match in the city of Barcelona itself. It actually would have been moved to a satellite city called Sabadell, which is about 15-20 minutes inland, where they would have moved it all the way to Tarragona, which is like an hour south. So yeah, not great if that would have happened, but thankfully, we're not talking about this scenario. We're talking about a scenario where we will actually see Palestine, Catalonia in the Olympic Stadium in Montjuic. So that's all the news we have for now. We are still waiting on 3 important things. First thing is the Palestine squad. Again, we're talking about 9 days removed. We still don't know who's been called up. We're also waiting for the squad that will represent Euskadi and the squad that will represent Catalonia. And it seems like the squad that will represent Euskadi is going to be of a good level, because I didn't see any sort of qualification or actually we might have some trouble getting players with Catalonia. Gerard Lopez came out and said, we don't know if we can actually get players for this match because the clubs can't release them. So it'll all be down to the clubs and whether or not they want to release these players. But if you look at the record of Euskadi and the record of Catalonia, they play proper national teams, the national teams that are Palestine status and that they are FIFA recognized, and they beat them or give them really good games. So I think it's going to be a really good test for Palestine going into a match against Libya. So we'll report more on that once we know. Hard to speculate, but a lot of big names from Basque Country have played for the national team. A lot of big names from Catalonia, and anyone who's anyone in the Barcelona side has played for the Catalan national team. So if you think about, the famous side that won the treble 10 years ago or 15 years ago, all those names have have played for the Catalan national team. We're talking Cesc Fabregas, Xavi Hernandez, Carlos Puyol, Victor Valdés, Oliver Presas, to name another one, Bojan Krikic. All of them have played for Catalonia. So I think if the clubs are willing to cooperate, you will get a good side ready to face Palestine. And we all know about the level of these players because they're all La Liga players. We all know that, in fact, it's not the Premier League, but it's La Liga that's the best league in the world. And obviously the titles that Real Madrid, Barcelona, Sevilla, and others keep winning at the European level will back that up. Okay, so let's now transition a little bit. I think this is the best story I've heard in a very, very long time. Obviously, it sort of headlines all the little tidbits of information about Palestinians abroad. But Mohammed Balah scored his first goal. I mean, it was sort of under the radar that he even moved to Shahniya because it was kind of a move that was in the works, and then you needed to get the exemption. They finally got the exemption. And then they finally were able to field him in a match. He came on as a substitute just the week before, and then last week came on. Sorry, didn't come on. Started against Acep, who are the defending QSL champions. Scored a goal, his first goal in the Qatar Stars League, and actually had another goal ruled out for some insane reason. But fantastic, fantastic, fantastic return to form. I mean, a fantastic comeback for a player that's 32 years old, uh, that was living in a tent in Gaza, like, a year and a half ago. To be able to kind of come back personally, professionally, to get a starting role for a team in one of the best leagues in the Arab world and to score is phenomenal. I mean, I really struggle to kind of put that into words what he's done. Just to kind of loop you in, if you haven't been following Mohammed Balah's story. So Mohammed Balah had a serious knee injury. I believe it was an ACL tear. He had signed for Al Masri, and very shortly after signing, he busted his ACL. So he spent the entire year out. He needed minutes and an opportunity to play week in, week out. So what did he do? He went home to Gaza, and this is, you know, after I would say about 6 or 7 years abroad, because he went alongside Mahmoud Wadi to Al Ahly, played for I think Ramla as well in Jordan, went and played for a bunch of clubs in Oman, played in Egypt, and so he came home to Gaza. And he did get his minutes and he was scoring goals, and then October 7th happened. And when October 7th happened, I mean, just like the Israelis laid waste to everything, it also affected Mohammed Balah's life personally, because he's from the Ramat neighborhood in Gaza City. That got completely destroyed. So the home he grew up in destroyed. Several businesses that he invested in as kind of a retirement plan using the earnings from his playing career abroad destroyed. And yeah, he found himself displaced, living in a tent, not really working out or training because that was impossible. Living with the challenge of having also a pregnant wife at that time when obviously you're not living in normal circumstances. Bombs are raining on you. It's hard to find food in the markets most days. So he had to live with all that until he could find a way to scrape the money to pay the exit fee to the Egyptians to get into Egypt. And that was about, I think, April or May of 2024. He was able to do that, go out to Egypt. He wanted to bring his wife with him before he could sort of facilitate her move. The Israelis invaded the Rafah crossing and closed the border completely. So he hasn't actually been able to hold his son, who is a little over a year old right now, which is something I think is incredibly, incredibly difficult for a father. But in spite of all the hardships, he went to Egypt. He got a gig with Arab contractors, 1 year contract. They had just gone down a division, and he was their top scorer. And he was a big reason why, a huge reason why, Arab contractors did the bounce back. They had gone down from the Premier League to the first division. And back comes in, scores a bunch of goals, contributes assists, and they go straight back up. I believe he had 8 goals and 4 assists in 24 games. So, averaging a goal involvement every other game. Still showing that he had it. And, I think he was looking for something better financially, also from a personal standpoint. And he managed to find a way to Qatar and to get this offer with the Shahniya, and to get the exemption as well. And he's taken the opportunity with both hands. I think you're looking at it now, and if you told me, hey, listen, there's going to be a Palestinian striker in the Qatari league that's going to bounce back, I would have said, oh yeah, you mean Mahmoud Wadi, or maybe Shahab Qumbar. And the reason I bring those names up is it really far-fetched to maybe call Mohammed Balah for the Arab Cup? I mean, think about it, because we've spent a lot of time on this podcast discussing, hey, does Odey Debag have a clause in his contract that lets him play the playing game? Will Wissam Abu Ali be available, or is he going to be continuing in Arab Cup in MLS Cup playoffs? And yeah, what does this kind of like striker depth look like if you don't have Wissam and you don't have Asad Halawi, which is we're kind of trending in that direction. Asad, forget about it. Wissam, I think if Columbus beats Cincinnati on Saturday, then you're looking at him not being available for the playing game, and that's gonna be a tough loss, right? Then you really need Audet to be available, and then past Audet, if Wissam and Esser aren't there, past Audet, who else do you have? Well, you have Zed Ponmot, who's not really a striker. You want to play him out wide because that's where he's more effective. And then I guess you can roll the dice on a Khaled Mabriz, but this could be a guy you look at. I don't think you have a Bujazar Wood, but this could be a guy you could look at. Yasser Islami, let's continue a little bit here with Palestinians abroad and look at who's doing well. Yasser Islami is also another guy who I believe has 4 goals and an assist in the first 9 or 10 games of the Thai league season. He's playing not as a striker, but he's scoring these goals. And the last goal he scored was an absolute beauty, work of art, classic Yasser Islami goal. I think for my goal strikers that I've seen, and this is a subjective analysis, but from all the strikers that I've seen for the national team, Yasser Islami is a guy that I always felt had just that little. He had that nose for goal. He's gonna find the box, he's gonna find the ball, he's gonna score, right? And I remember that 2016, 2017 period where he came in, he was like, he solved the problem for us. He was the striker, he was the man. And he still got it, but he's still banging in the goals in the Thai league. So this is also another guy that you could think, hey, well, maybe, right? Like you're short on numbers. It's not your regular team because it's not in the FIFA